I had a really great realization today. Just in the morning while I was weightlifting, just thinking to myself, I'm starting a new job at a bank, Santander. It'd be like customer service department side of things, but it's gonna be a job, working in a bank, working in the commercial services, and just thinking about my prior experience, working at Capri Nero, and I used to be really good at the tills and I used to be able to like add up things in my head, really good at maths, and like I had this really profound realization. I'm bad at maths. I'm bad at doing mental arithmetic. And I sat down and I thought, why? Where is this why do I get this tightness coming up my chest from when I think about doing maths or answering a math question? Why do I get this why do I get this freeze response? And I realized there's a lot of trauma that's associated with maths as well. When I was a child, my grandparents, my grandfather and his son, my uncle, they'd ask me my times tables, what's 6 7, what's 7 8, and they do that in such a way that they'll just shout the question at me, and if I didn't know the answer, say, "Why don't you know?" And I'm actually feeling fucking awful just talking about this now because that's actually bringing up some traumatic shit. But like, I've got a lot of trauma around like maths and like arithmetic and not doing questions. Like I did fine in it in school and all that shit, but from a young age, just the way they kind of raised me, like with that kind of not very helpful style of kind of like well, they weren't even my parents. I spent so much time there at my grandparents. Really, they weren't my parents. My parents were too busy working, in a sense. And yeah, I get where it came from. It came from a place of, I guess, love in some ways, right? They wanted me to do well at school and know my times tables and all that kind of stuff. But the way they fucking taught us was nothing short of abusive. I don't actually remember if I got slapped, but I feel like I did. I'm not remembering it, but I feel like I probably got slapped for not getting the answers to my times tables. And they'd make me do it and do it until I was fucking crying on the table and I couldn't get up from the table because I had to write all my times tables. Just fucking talking about that right now, guys, it actually makes me want to fucking burst into tears. I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of real shit buried in that, and just having this realization, wow, I've got some issues around math. I've got some issues around kind of the way I was taught that, and the kind of way I was shouted at by my grandparents and my uncle, Or at least it was my grandpa, really. My grandfather, my uncle, the way they shouted at me and just kind of made it into something really horrible. I to this day, yeah, I'm not very good at mental arithmetic and math, and I kind of just brushed it off or something, which is weird because I did maths at A level. If you're in the UK, you know what that is. So I did do some maths. So it's not like I'm bad at it. It's just that I have a lot of trauma and issues, and even now, even like someone was something plus something, I freeze up. I really freeze up and I think, oh shit, I don't know the answer. And if I don't know the answer, that takes back to childhood. And it takes back to like not knowing the answer as a kid and being shouted at and just crying. And I remember just, dude, I'm having fucking memories right now. Actually talking about this, I'm having memories of like being on like the kitchen table there, face down, just crying into the fucking paper. Because I didn't know the answer and I couldn't get up from the table if I didn't know the answer. Real traumatic shit. Real traumatic shit. But yeah, no, I didn't. Oh man, I am just feeling it right now. Right here in my heart center, I'm feeling a lot of stress. And maybe this, I think this, I won't generalize here, but maybe this is quite endemic in a lot of Indian families as well. There's a big pressure on academic attainment and grades and being good at maths and all that sort of kind of bullshit in a way. I definitely think, don't say don't learn maths, but there's a way to teach to a child, and it's not like that. I said this in an earlier video as well, but I'm saying again, I'm not resentful to my grandfather. He's passed away, he's reincarnated into a new body, so I'm not, and he had his own issues. Like I've said before, he came to this country at 10 years old, not knowing who his real parents were, and he had his own issues as well. And that's a whole karmic cycle I could trace back all the way back to my ancestors. But and my uncle as well, he had his own issues with his father, and they're just, they were good men, but they're deeply flawed men as well. But I have to forgive them for that because they didn't know any better. I know better though. I'm here today, and I wouldn't want my son or daughter to go through that sort of trauma or issue, and I would want to stop them from happening to them as well. And maybe that ties into the whole Indian parenting style. I mean, definitely, if I ever choose to have kids or adopt kids or whatever, I definitely think I'm going to need to like take like a course in child psychology, and I myself get therapy as well, which I'm going to plan to do as soon as I start this other job as well. I'm going to get into therapy, relationship therapy, and kind of like definitely this kind of relationship therapy, like because I'm anxiously attached, but also I need a therapy on just dealing with this trauma because I don't really know how to work through it at the moment. But I think one way I can really try and heal myself with this is just add it to my habit tracker. Okay, let's do a few math questions. Let's do a few math tests. GCSE basic level maths. That's like I guess high school level maths in America. Basic level GCSE. So I don't know what that would be in India, but like when you're sort of like 15, 16, 17, 13, 14 level maths. Real basic. Let's just try and do this and integrate to myself slowly and not feel this kind of shame and pressure of not knowing the answer to a maths question. And this is such a healing moment for me because this is some trauma that I had just suppressed. And usually if this shit had come up, I'd have used it. I'd have gone out and get high. I'd have fucking drunk on this shit. I'd have fucking wanted to smoke weed or some shit just to suppress this feeling. But I let this thing kind of bubble up from the surface, from my kind of like my center. And I sit with this and I say, wow, man, it's something I need to work through, and I'm with pain and with difficult emotions. I'm very sensitive to that. I always feel like here, my heart chakra, the anjana, like the unstruck. That is the literal Sanskrit meaning of it, but like yeah, the heart chakra here. I always feel that, but it's not like this tight, closed up feeling. It's this kind of relaxed, it's a pain, but I'm aware of the pain. So I'm just gonna add doing maths questions to my daily routine. I mean, I do it every day, but I've got some real trauma with this kind of stuff, and hopefully this can help me work through it in some kind of way, and it make me realize that I'm not actually bad at maths. I'm just having an adverse reaction to things that happened in my past, and the people who caused it, in a way, I've got to be grateful, and I can be grateful, and I will be grateful for having that trauma because I get to work through it now. If I get to work through that trauma, what I become through it, the same way I'm grateful for being an addict. Because I'm an addict, it means I can't use drugs and alcohol to try and take the edge of life. I've got to work through it, and I've got to use healthier coping mechanisms, my meditation, breathing exercise, yoga, other forms of like sort of natural highs, essentially running as well, exercise that I can use instead rather than having to resort to drugs and alcohol. In the same way, I'm grateful for this trauma, and this is a real growth kind of mindset. If you can be grateful for the kind of most difficult things you faced, if you can show kind of gratitude to that and a kind of acceptance of it, nothing can rock you. Everything that happens to me, good or bad, it's going to be a cause of gratitude. Because when I can be grateful for the stuff that happens in my life, I'm reframing the story. I'm not a victim of these things, you know. I'm a victor of these things. I'm not a victim of my circumstances or my life. I'm someone who's survived through it and grown through it. I conquered it. I was victorious over it. So if I can do the same with the maths. Yeah, I'd be really interested to know if you're Indian or if you're not Indian or just like come from an Asian background. Like, do you think you might have any issues with maths or any issues with like that kind of thing from school? Because I know I definitely have as well. I'm gonna try and work on that today by just doing some basic math questions, real foundational stuff. But I didn't have the humility as well. I didn't have the humility to admit I didn't know. That I wasn't good at maths, and just of okay, maybe I need to actually go over this bit and shit and make sure I'm actually competent in this stuff. I couldn't do that before because I didn't have the humility or the understanding, and humility as well is so important for this growth. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't humble and admitting to you guys, you know what? I don't have all the answers yet, but I've got some of the right answers. I know what things work for me, and so I can keep going with that. Take it, guys. And remember, choose purpose over pleasure.